Spring break.
Not no, no.
Spring break in Metropolis, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Not when you get back to Smallville. It's like, be healed by the
Exactly.
power of unity.
Oh my God! Seriously, if you ever wanted to pin a Superman the Animated Series episode that is kind of like an X-Files meets a Outer
Lovecraft.
Limits.
I know.
Yeah.
It is. I don't know what it is with Superman episodes and creatures that look like Cthulhu. Because we already did that with the Dr. Fate episode.
Yep. Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
this point. And
We've
the
already.
funny was this is one of those episodes that when I saw the title, I was like, yeah, I don't know what this episode's about.
Yeah,
And then
I didn't know it either.
And then
Yeah.
I saw the thumbnail and it went, oh, that's fucker.
Yeah, it was like when we talked about it last week. It was like Unity, and then I saw you post, that you were watching it, and I was like, oh yeah, Unity. I'm like, is this like about people coming together about? Nope,
Right now, over me.
Yeah, you thought it was going to be like something like that. No. Like I said, Mulder and Scully probably should have showed up in this crazy episode.
And Ash from Evil Dead.
Yes.
Because the amount of times that I hear, join us, I just thought about the Kandarian demons. And so, which is really funny because literally, I think it was like 2 nights ago. Did you know they did a musical of Evil Dead?
Oh, they do a musical for everything. I think I might have heard about that. Yeah.
I mean, it's just.
I mean, I can't even imagine that. Groovy. What are we doing?
And the best part is that it does combine like elements of Evil Dead 2, and you get the boomstick monologue that they bring in from Army of Darkness.
This
because
is my boomstick.
Jeez, it's funny. It's funny, but all the join us, and I can never have it. Join us, Ash. Join us.
We're gonna get you. We're gonna get you. Yeah,
I know.
Wow. I mean, and as much as I love that franchise, I can't imagine it as a musical.
It's actually really hilarious.
Yeah,
because it goes back. This is such a weird tangent, but yeah, it's going to connect. The thing about is that the everyone knows about the Evil Dead movies is that the first one was their attempt to make an actual scary movie. It was just kind of ridiculous because of the low budget.
It was like $20,000 they made for that, or $25,000.
Right. Then by Evil Dead 2, it was like, let's remake Evil Dead 1. But let's lean into the cheese. Like, let's actually be cheesy on purpose. And so the musical does that. Like the musical looks at the cheese and then leans into that. Like there's a song when that first girl gets turned into a demon. The song is called "Look Who's Evil Now."
It's awesome. I love that. But yeah, no, you are right. Like when it comes to the Evil Dead franchise, I always say the first movie was supposed to be a serious, movie. Yeah, there's cheese in there, but at the same time, it's like, again, low budget. And what Sam Raimi did, I love it. It's one of my all-time favorite horror movies. And then you go to Evil Dead 2, and they kind of soft reboot it slightly because it's not a group of people that go to the cabin. Now it's just Ash and his girlfriend. And then of course, he now has to deal with another night of craziness. But it does get to the cheese factor to the point where literally his hand that gets cut off is going, and it's making noises as it's trying to like move. It's funny. And then of course he gets sent off to the other, he goes back in time and everybody's like, oh my God, it's the fucking savior of our people. But then of course, when you watch Army of Darkness, he's like a slave. And it's like, wait a minute, I thought he was, they kind of changed it again. It's a weird, that's what I kind of love about that franchise, that trilogy, is how uneven it is. Like where Sam Raimi's going, no, we should do this time. It's like,
and I need to finish watching it, but I was really enjoying the first season of Ash versus the Evil Dead.
it's great. It's great. I mean, Bruce Campbell is just such a likable, like, just presence. There's just something about him, his charisma. That's why I just love Bruce Campbell. But man, we start off with a big tangent with this one. I love it.
I like that. Why not?
Why not?
This is just a weird episode.
It's a weird episode, and that's, I mean,
technically,
I mean, it's a tangent, but we're still, we have connective tissue or tentacles to this episode. And good to see people. We got Jason. Good to see you. We got Michael, who's saying #super shit. Okay. And we got Cloned Adventure. Oh, the membership didn't pop up. Yeah, that's under my control. Sorry. And then Monique, happy Wednesday to you and everything. Yeah. Notifications are weird. So sorry if you missed
it happens to me. Like my notifications for the member streams are like, sometimes I get them, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I get the email. I can attest that even I, who is a tangential member of this channel, don't get the notifications. It's
not just you guys. It's crazy. But yes, we're in Metropolis. We're back in Metropolis.
Or Smallville. Depends on
Smallville. True.
Yeah.
This is a very Supergirl centered episode too. I mean, yeah, Superman. There's a lot of Superman in here, but I mean, really, it's a Supergirl.
It's a Supergirl episode. It really is, and that's the aspect.
With Kara.
I know. Ugh. I know. You really hate that pronunciation, don't you?
No, it's Kara. Come on. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard for me to accept Kara. Anyways, go ahead.
I can take Kara more than I can take Lana.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, no, it's Lana.
Yeah.
Why do we need? What's wrong with the long A? I do not understand their opposition to the Lana, Kara. Not Kara and Lana.
Yeah, nope, not digging that. You know, it's kind of funny too, because how many episodes of Superman the Animated Series we have left?
We have 3 episodes after this one.
It's almost like it's just going to line up right to the Superman movie release. I think we maybe talked about that, but I was like,
it's
almost.
It's the
close.
No, because the problem
is there's some Batman episodes in between.
There's a lot of Batman episodes.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, because once again, let me jump into this right now. Because I teased something last week at the end of our Batman Beyond episode, talking about this episode. Because officially, and I mean officially as in if you look at HBO Max, or if you look at, or you buy it digitally, or you buy the box sets, they would say that there were 3 seasons of Superman the Animated Series. However, based on some, now granted, they're wikis, so we understand how reliable those can or cannot be. Production numbering may indicate, but the problem is I can never find an official source for any of this. Production numbering may indicate that this episode tonight, Unity, was technically the end of season 3.
That's right. And talk about this, yeah.
Right. And that the 3 remaining episodes were intended to be the launching pad for season 4, but then Superman the Animated Series was canceled by Kids WB. Now, some people argue that that's the case because this episode, Unity, originally aired on May 15th of 1999. The next episode, the next Superman episode we'll discuss, did not air until September 18th of 1999. So really, if you think about traditional television seasons, May is usually when right before summer is when a television series airs their season finales, and then everything comes back in the fall. So I don't know if people are looking at just the air dates and thinking, wow, that was a really big gap between Unity and the next Superman episode and thinking of it that way? Or is there actually some real information out there, if you production codes saying that the last 3 episodes were technically 401, 402, and 403, indicating that they should have been season 4? This is not the first time I've seen this happen. If you go back to the OG Gen 1 Transformers cartoon,
they did the same thing.
They did the same thing. Season 3 was the season that took place after the movie, when it jumped into the future. Because you've got the first 2 seasons that take place in the normal, quote, present day timeline. Then the movie happens and they jump into the future. And then season 3 literally picks up, like, credits roll on the 1986 animated movie. And then the first episode of season 3, like, picks up right after. Like, even the previously on was a recap of the movie. Like, that's... And they had a season 4 that was like a 3 or 4-parter called The Return of Optimus Prime. And that was it for season 4. So they kind of did the same thing where the season 4 was just kind of like this little mini season that was like tacked on at the end. So it's not like it's unheard of. But like I said, I did what internet research I could do as I mime clicky-clacky on the keyboard. I can't determine. All I can go by is the box sets, say 3 seasons. The HBO Max says 3 seasons, but I have nothing official to say whether this really is a season 3 finale with a 3-season episode 4, or is it really just a extended season 3. Really long story, but I promised you that I was going to kind of like...
Yeah, you broke it down perfectly. You broke it down perfectly right there. Yeah, it's all crazy because I was just I was trying to remember, because I'm like going, wait, we have Superman in a month. And then I was like, wait, is it going to line up? But then I was like, oh yeah, there's Batman Beyond episodes that we're going to...
And there's a lot, because
I forgot you said that. Yeah.
Well, not only that, the gap between Unity and the next Superman episode was like May of 1999 to September of 1999.
Crazy.
The 2-part finale, being the series finale of Superman, didn't air until 2000. So there was even a longer gap.
Yeah.
Till we got to the 2-part finale. So really, it kind of feels like they knew that the show was, done.
Yeah, true that. And Clone Avenger, yes, we will be covering Justice League animated series. We're covering it all.
Clone Avenger. Because I'm not sure if you're new to the stream, but as we have said, we are watching everything. And by everything, let's be clear here. We're talking about Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, Batman Beyond, Static Shock, the Zeta Project. That then leads into Justice League Unlimited, and there's some movie and there's some animated films sprinkled in there as well, that some I will be official, some may be playing fast and loose, and I'm going to see if I can twist Dave's arm because reasons.
Of course. And of course, you don't have to twist too much. You just grab my arm and be like, hey, we're doing this. And I'm like, okay. Yeah.
basically, Dave watches what I tell him. Like, literally, at the end of the episode, I tell him what he's watching.
This stream, I'm like, what do you want to watch? Okay, there's a Sega CD version of Batman.
That really was like the most ultimate of Scott says we're doing this.
When you told me that, I was like, yeah, let's fucking talk about it. I'm down. So no, you were talking about everything animated. Everything animated when it comes to this world right here. That's, it all started with Batman the Animated Series, but then it was like, well, that's wrapping up. Why not just keep going? So we're going to keep on going. And yes, like I said, we're talking about the Unity here. So I was actually going to ask you, has there ever been this Unity, has it ever shown up in any comic book form?
I did not. I am not familiar with it.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
But it's also a generic enough sci-fi I mean, you made the X-Files joke at the beginning of this episode. I mean, because it feels a little bit like Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah.
So because if you look at it, it was written by Paul Dini and Rich Fogel, and I really feel like it's just a good standard kind of sci-fi plot where the alien comes into the small community. Interesting, this one, and uses the idea of kind of like the tent revival preacher as the
there is an X-Files episode that I can think of right now.
I'm thinking of the same one because I know the one you're talking about. Yes. Yeah. So I am not familiar with this character existing in comics previously, but only because I didn't bother to research it, because the plot was pretty standard sci-fi trope that I'm going to be honest, I just assumed Paul and Rich just kind of took that concept and made a Superman episode out of it.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I was like wondering, I was even going to maybe even look it up, but I was like, nah, we'll discuss it, because I'm like, I mean, it has kind of like a Star Wars, Starro sense to it, where it's like you have the big creature and then you have and it's all connected and blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, maybe they were playing off of that a little bit, but then I'm going, well, maybe there was something with the Unity in the books, but I was like, I don't remember hearing anything about this.
Okay, you're making me just keep talking, because at this point I'm looking this up. I know.
I mean, it's interesting. I mean, that's the thing. It's like you never know. Maybe there was something somebody tried, and maybe one of these guys were like, "Oh, I read this one issue that had to do with blah, blah, blah." But that at the same time, it still feels like, yeah, it's just during this time in the '90s with X-Files, with Outer Limits, the new Outer Limits, and even like newer Twilight Zone stuff. It just seems like, oh yeah, this is something ripped out of there. And I love the fact, though, that they made it Supergirl centric, because we haven't, we're kind of wondering, hey, what's Kara up to? Not Kara, Kara. I'm not going to say her name like that, but I'm just saying, what's she been up to? She's been just in Smallville at the Kent farm, just kind of, doing whatever. And now we're finally revisiting her, where she's going, hey, she's obviously going to school. Spring break, she wants to get the hell out of Smallville and go to Metropolis for what, a week?
Yeah, for a week. Yeah, it seems like for a week. But by the way, no, this is not it. However, I did find out this little tidbit. Bruce Timm has mentioned this episode is unpopular with fans for being weird and grotesque, but that he's a fan of
grotesque.
It is. It really is. But Bruce Timm's a fan of it, and Paul Dini is. I would assume Paul Dini would be. He wrote it, so
Of course, no, it is grotesque, because, I mean, poor, we got Mom, Pa Kent that have to, that get involved with this, and it's like, what do you do here? But yeah, I mean, like I said, it starts off with Kara just wanting to get out, get to Metropolis. She wants, but what I love too, what they emphasize, is the fact that she's still like that, not really a rebellious teen, but she just wants to get out so bad that she still has to.
She's the small town girl with the big city dreams.
There's that, but she also has to keep that low profile, so she has to put on the brunette wig. She has to put on the glasses.
Yeah, I always call that the Linda Danvers wig.
There you go.
Because that was her secret identity in the Silver Age. That's what she does in the Helen Slater movie.
Yep.
Because she magically becomes there's a lot of weird things that happens in that film franchise, but like she walks past trees and suddenly she's got brunette hair and she's wearing a schoolgirl outfit. Yeah. If y'all haven't gone back and watched the Supergirl movie in a while,
one of these days I'm going to revisit it. Yeah, one of these days. I mean, Helen Slater, she was a knockout. At least I could just look at her.
She was a knockout, and she aged very gracefully.
Oh, totally.
As she showed up on the Supergirl TV show. And but it has It has moments. There's also like 3 different cuts of that movie.
Yeah.
I know. Watch the international version. Don't worry about the director's cut because the director's cut just adds more stuff in it than you actually need. Because when we talked about it for Squadcast Movies, I watched all 3 versions of Supergirl just for comparison's sake. Because Warner Archive finally released that on Blu-ray. And on the Blu-ray, you get like all the versions. You get theatrical, you get international, and you get director's cut. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. No, but she's just, and it's so funny because they literally have to take her to the bus, and she's just so impatient where she goes, I mean, she knows she's like, I could just fly and be there so quickly, but no, she has to do the human thing. So and then I love it too, where when they're at the bus stop and she goes, oh, it's a mile away. And Jonathan's like, how did you, oh yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah.
This episode also establishes something that I appreciate about the animated series that later on, there's a little bit of a pet peeve of mine. I remember the Krypton Report podcast actually put a poll out on X a few weeks ago because, and I say it kind of started, at least my awareness of this started with the TV show Smallville, where they started putting Metropolis in Kansas.
Yeah, because she does emphasize it's Kansas.
Right. Well, she emphasizes that she's in Kansas, but they say it will take 2 days by bus to get to Metropolis. It doesn't take you 2 days to travel in the state. So once again, in the animated universe, they have that idea of Metropolis being that East Coast, metropolis, and Kansas being that place that, it would take you 2 days by bus to get there. So I always appreciate the fact, because it is it is a pet peeve of mine in some Superman media when for some reason they want to, for one reason or another, put Metropolis in Kansas. And I'm like, no, it's supposed to be like New York or something. Like that's where it's supposed to. Yeah.
Yeah, there's water there. There's like something's, we know the river that everything falls into, of course.
I mean, exactly.
But there's a coast. There's a coast. There's supposed to be like a coastal, So that is interesting. But of course she's gonna, and then of course before she gets on the bus, we get this creepy dude, of course, wearing all black with the black hat with the long hair that she.
Did he remind you a little bit like the character design? Did he remind you about that farmer from Critters?
Yes, of course. It was there was like
that god awful episode of Batman.
Took that design and kind of tweaked it a little bit. 100%. Yeah, the Batman episode where he was, genetically making farm animals all crazy and whatever.
God, that was such a terrible episode.
Yeah, it was not a good episode. It definitely was not a good episode. But kind of reminds you of that. But so obviously it's like, oh, okay, sure. And then of course we get a little montage of, because back in those days you didn't have the technology to just send text messages or video call or whatever the hell. So it is kind of funny though, because it is spring break, and yet she's still writing a letter to them. It's like, you're only gone for like a week, but she's like, oh,
you'll probably be back by the time the letter arrives.
Yeah. I did find it kind of funny. I'm like, well, unless they're going by nowadays where spring break's like 2 weeks or whatever the hell in some places. But
where's that happening? Because I'm jealous.
Oh yeah. I mean, I thought there were some places that were, you're right. I don't think it's like that. Yeah, you're right. I thought for some reason, maybe I'm thinking of Christmas Vacation. Didn't they add a week on something? Or maybe I'm thinking Thanksgiving. They added.
No, because spring break's a week. Thanksgiving's a week. Actually, most places you get like the whole week off now for Thanksgiving. And you traditionally get 2 weeks at Christmas break.
Okay. Interesting. I don't know. I don't know why I thought that they extended spring break as well, but no, that's still a week. But at the same time, like I said, it's like, she's writing a letter, but they have to do a thing where they do a montage of, oh yeah, her and Clark are going around the city eating food, and she's even spending time with Lois Lane, so we get a little Lois in here just in like picture form, and then of course she's doing her Supergirl thing, and then we get Volcana, who just randomly shows up in this episode that she takes on just real quick.
You know what? I know it was fun because once again, I remind myself that Volcana is the voice of Ronnie from Frasier, and it just made me happy. It's just
I forgot about that. Yeah. But so they had to show like, oh yeah, you got to do Supergirl doing Supergirl things, and not just doing like a traditional let's rescue. No, we gotta pin her up against a supervillain, and hey, let's bring back Volcana. Why not?
This is the last time she shows up in Superman the Animated Series. Granted, it's only 3 more episodes. She will return again. Volcano will return.
She will return in the future. But yeah, so we see that you're taking on. Of course, there's it's like the traditional like, hey, show a quick thing, hero versus villain, some quippy stuff, and then that's pretty much it. We'll show that she takes her out.
Well, because the plot has got to be back in Smallville.
Yes,
but I think though, in my mind, the montage serves a couple different purposes. One, it's got to be you got to see how busy she is, because you've got to give time for what's going on in Smallville to happen. So you can almost like understand why it's as far as it is by the time she gets back. That's always a thing in stories. It's like, did they give enough time for whatever it is that happened to naturally occur?
Yeah. And they do. They give enough time, because when she does go back, I mean, obviously it's time. It's like, and she gets back and she doesn't want to, obviously she struggles to just ride the bus. She's on the bus wearing her, Metropolis Meteors hat, which I love that. Because obviously then during the montage, they do go to a baseball game. And is this the first time we've heard about the Metropolis Meteors in this universe? Probably.
I think so.
Maybe not. Maybe. Yeah.
Because you got the Metropolis Meteors, because normally I'm used to hearing about the Gotham Knights. That's usually the football team in Gotham. I think this is the first time I hear about the Metropolis Meteors. At least it's the first time that I remember. Now, once again, this is episode 51. We've watched the other episodes of this. My memory may be a little fuzzy, so.
True, but so she's wearing, and then she just can't stand being on this bus because there's just people that are just annoying as hell.
The baby is crying. I think those turnips in that field. No, I think they're rutabagas.
So she's just losing her mind, and she's going, I don't need to be on this bus, and she knows it. So she, of course, pulls the what do they call that?
The brake line.
The brake line, whatever. Yeah. She gets, and even the bus driver's like, really, in the middle of nowhere? And this is where she goes, well, it is Kansas. And I love that line.
It is great line. Because if you've ever driven through Kansas, I have driven through Kansas to and fro.
There's a lot of nothing.
There's a lot of flat nothing.
It's funny. But it was a good line where she was just like, yeah, I know, it's Kansas. And then naturally she's going to do her, all right, I'm not going to fly. I'm just going to run really fast. And she does that. And then she shows up. And then this is where it starts getting into, Outer Limits, X-Files.
Yeah, but we have a cameo. We have an important cameo when she gets back to the Kent farm.
Who?
Because who's waiting for her?
Mom.
No, who she see before Mom and Pa?
I don't know who she sees. Owen?
No,
not Owen. That Owen, the dude. Of course, they have to do that one. That the guy that has a crush on her.
Yeah, who's a comic book nerd. Yeah,
that poor guy.
That poor schmuck.
Yeah,
the cat.
It's what?
The cat.
Oh yeah, Streaky. Duh.
Streaky, yes.
God damn it! I was like, wait a minute, who are you talking about? I was thinking of a person, but no, Streaky. Because when she shows up, like, they're not around, and then of course Streaky is just there, and of course she's just like, what, are you hungry? What's going on? And then all of a sudden Mom and Pa show up and they're not acting
normal. But when they do stuff like that, I like, it's Streaky.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the wink of the nod to Streaky the Super Cat, because once again, super pets. That's Kara actually gets 2 super pets. Were you aware of that?
I were like because Crypto's not the other one. That's Superman's. What's Superman. The other? The squirrel? No.
The squirrel's a Green Lantern.
Yeah. Who's the other pet?
Comet the super horse.
Oh yeah, duh. Obviously in Woman of Tomorrow. Yeah, that's emphasized as Yeah.
So you got Streaky the super cat and Comet the super horse. Those were Kara's super pets in the Silver Age. So yeah. So, but once again, it's just a cat. They call it Streaky. It's like, it would be like Clark having a dog and it just being, calling the dog Crypto and the dog not actually being, super. So, but it's cute, and I like the little winks and nods like that. Like, if you know, and if you don't, okay, she has a cat.
Yeah, she has a cat, and then talk to your fellow nerd person that and they'll go off on a whole diatribe on, hey, well the reason why it's called that's what I always say. I mean,
that's why you have me. So
that's why, I have you, but then that's why even my friends have me for whatever knowledge I have. They're like, what is this? And I go like, well,
well, according to my
exactly. And then I push my glasses up as I do, and I start explaining things. And it's
Dave, that's an image. I just, every time before you breathe in, you go,
yep. Like, well, let me explain this one to you. Let me explain a little bit of things to you. I mean, it is funny because obviously, I mean, there's like tiers of that. I mean, you know more about obviously way more knowledgeable. You're an encyclopedia of the comic books. So I learned from you, and then I'll take that and I'll give it to my normie friends as well too. But then I know my own stuff too, but it's not as, in depth. And hey, we're educating people. That's why we're doing this stream.
Educated. Right? We're getting educated. Yes.
I like it. But yeah, so Jonathan and Martha are like, hey, you're home early. We were going to pick you up and blah, 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 blah. But so they're like, okay, cool. But of course they're acting very, stiff and, almost, Jim Gordon robot. I'm fine.
I'm fine.
I'm fine.
They're a little bit more believable than the hard act robots. Let's be honest.
Very true. Very true. So, but then they're like, oh yeah, we're going to ride into town. So come with us. And then naturally, when they're in the truck and they're driving through, and even Carl's like, hey, Smallville is a lot more dead than it usually is. What the hell is going on? And then again, going to like the big tent, and you already go, oh shit, some bad things are happening. And even like Owen, the guy who has a crush on Kara, he's walking through like a zombie.
Well, not only walking through like a zombie going, you naughty.
Yeah.
And that, but did you notice, and Mom, Pa, and everyone else shows up this way once the creature's revealed. But did you notice how their coloring changed in the episode?
They're more pale.
They're paler. The colors become more washed out, almost pastel like. Their skin's a weird color. Their hair is duller. Is not as bright or as I'm not sure if bright's the right word, but all the colors just look more washed out.
Yeah.
When they're part of the Unity. And I thought that was a really cool aesthetic choice to indicate, the body snatcher versions of all the Smallville people.
No. Yeah, I noticed that too. You could tell a big difference, not a big difference, but a subtle difference of, there's like almost like a glow to them, like a pale glow to them. And so showing up there, and then of course we got and we find out the name of Reverend Ames Howell. That's who it is. And she's like, oh shit, this guy is, that's the guy I saw. I knew there was something off on him, and I didn't think, oh shit. And then he's you go into the tent, there's a big squiddy type of creature.
It's Cthulhu. It's another.
It's a Cthulhu kind of character, and everybody's connected to it by tentacles coming out of their mouths. It's gross.
It is so gross.
Yeah.
By the way, Reverend Howell is a voice.
Oh, who is he? I knew he was.
You knew? Any idea? Any guesses? Anything?
Nope, I don't have any guess.
Okay. It's Stephen Root.
Stephen Root. Stephen Root is such man. He if anybody wants to know Stephen Root, if you watch Office Space,
Red Stapler. My stapler.
Yes.
Stapler. He was Milton in Office Space.
Milton, who that whole thing is based off of. He's been in so many things.
Many things. His IMDb page is insane.
Fact. He's been in super successful TV shows as just characters. He's been in super successful comedies where he's just a character. He's just one of those guys. He's just one of those guys that shows up in so many things. I remember he was in Dodgeball. That was another thing I can just remember him off the top of my head. But yeah, he was in News Radio. That was a popular TV show. If anybody remembers that back.
I remember that. I'm old enough for News Radio. Absolutely. But he's been in movies. He's just been in so much stuff.
Consistently works, and he's done a lot of voice acting too. So obviously, yeah, I'm like, of course, yes. Did not even. I mean, luckily my phone's charging over there because usually I'm like, well, who is it? And I'm gonna search. No, you said Stephen Root. I knew exactly who you fucking talking about.
Exactly.
Damn it. Yeah, I should have recognized because I knew his voice sounded familiar, but I was like, of course, not gonna look. I'm gonna wait. And I disappoint myself, especially with that one, because I love that guy. Damn it. Anyways, but yeah, so he's of course spreading the word of the unity, and I
like Kara's comment of, does Pastor Ross know about this? I love the fact that she actually like acknowledges like the local preacher going,
yeah. Wait, there's already a pastor here. What are we talking about? And why is this guy here?
Right, because clearly even Kara's like, this message seems a little which is cool because not only do you get the alien body snatcher plot, but the metaphor of the cult is also, which is really funny since I was literally just recording a ballerina review before jumping on the stream and talking about the cult. But that idea of we're all as one, and we do everything as part of the unity, and just that collective, the
group think.
Yeah. And you could just see how Rich and Paul were playing with this screenplay. I mean, that's even when Invasion of the Body Snatchers was, Red Scare communism stuff. Yeah. Oh, you're thinking about the 80s one with Donald Sutherland.
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking of that one. I know there's been remakes. I know there was the Nicole Kidman, Daniel Craig remake.
There was the guy, and then you go back to the original one in the 50s.
Oh, yeah. That one. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, because that one, the pod people like, because that was a metaphor for communism. So, it's.
Yeah, that's right. I think my dad showed me that one a long time ago. Just like The Thing from Another World. Ugh. And then, of course, John Carpenter was like, nah, we're going to do The Thing like this. You guys remember The Thing from the Another World? Remember that one?
I never saw that one.
Dude, that one was crazy because it was just like a big dude with a weird, funky head, and he got set on fire. And it was like, it was so weird. Like, obviously, but it was cool at the time because, especially when I was a kid, I was like, oh, that's cool. But then all of a sudden you see John Carpenter's The Thing, you go, Jesus Christ.
I know.
It still holds up to this day of Jesus Christ.
But this, yes, it does. Oh, my God. It shows you how well practical effects can age.
Oh, my God.
But I think that's what's... We've talked about Evil Dead, we've talked about The Thing, we've talked about Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but I think that's what's so cool about this episode is that it's such a
callback to all those. Yeah,
it's such a 50s B movie kind of thing. Yeah. It's sci-fi horror. Really it's so connected. That was not a pun. Ending.
But no, I get what you're saying. It was such like
it was so rooted. Oh no,
yeah.
wait, no, stop it. No, that was on purpose. Okay.
No, but I get what you're saying. It's like you could tell that they wanted to do something like that. That they are like, you know what? What if we did this? We've watched all these kind of things like this. Let's do something like this for Superman. And that's what I could appreciate with this episode. Yeah, it's a weird episode and it's off the cuff and it doesn't have any kind of connective tissue.
Oh God! Stop it! Stop it!
I know. It's hard not to, but I'm just saying. There's like it's just a one-off episode, and it's like, hey, well, what's Kara been up to, or Karen, whatever, and let's do something with this, and it works because when she's there and she sees all this, she's like, fuck this, runs off, but of course does her, hey, let's do a switcheroo thing, and all of a sudden Supergirl's here, and she's gonna like do her thing and see how everybody's obviously Jonathan and Martha are like. They got things coming out of their mouths. Luckily, she rescues Martha by, getting rid of that little tentacle mouth thing, grabs her and whisks her away and brings her to the hospital. And then,
well, actually, it's Star Labs.
Well, it's Star Labs. Yeah, sorry. But but essentially just to get her looked at. And then, of course, Superman shows up. But it's also kind of interesting, too, because they have to play it very like, hey, this is
I got a distress signal from the Midwest.
But then at the same time, they also got to play it kind of like, well, Clark, like Superman just can't go, mom.
Mom.
Yeah. But of course, like even like when she like starts kind of waking up, I mean, they kind of like tend to her, and even Kara goes, Ma. Like she just wants to say, she says,
and even Martha calls Kara and calls them Kara and Clark.
Oh yeah, Kara and Clark. So it's like, whoa, yeah. So. But so they have no idea what's wrong, but they did pull that little bit out of her that's on like that little dish or whatever the hell. And then of course they're looking at it. And then Superman, of course, takes that to, to be further looked at through a microscope, but with the human eyes, still with the microscope, can't see too much. And then he uses his great vision to really
specifically he uses his X-ray vision.
Yeah, there you go.
What I love is I forgot about that little detail, because I also love that when he uses his X-ray vision, you see something starts to happen, but the episode doesn't explain it to you in that moment. It waits to explain it later, and I kind of liked that. By the way, the doctor that is taking care of Martha, also a voice.
Who?
You're gonna kick yourself on this.
I'm sure.
It's Dennis Haysbert.
Oh, Dennis Haysbert. Go ahead.
Well, you know the name, right?
I'm trying to wait.
He's the president from 24.
That's okay. So hasn't he been in another episode?
Yes, he has. Yes.
Yeah. What episode was it?
I don't know, because he played a different character.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I know him more from Major League as Pedro Serrano, but
and then I loved him in, and I know we're having this conversation again, but then I loved him in The Unit. The one of
yeah.
So and of course that's Allstate Stan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you guys, like a lot of people know him from that, but because that's what's funny is mainly from 24. I didn't really watch 24, but he was Pedro Serrano in my favorite baseball movie ever, Major League. So, and then of course he was in Heat. He was like the getaway driver guy that they try to get back at the end.
Because he's got an amazing voice. He's such an amazing voice. He should have done more voice acting with a voice like that. It's like Keith David. You hear that voice and you're just like, yeah. You
immediately know. But that's cool. So they're looking at that, and then obviously they know there's like a parasite that is like in, they're doing the X-rays, and it's like
wrapped up in the brain stem,
and then they're like, what can you do? And it's like, well, we can only just run more tests and whatever, and but then of course, like while things are, just kind of waiting along, she wakes up and she ends up infecting two of the the nurse or the handlers or whatever the hell,
the doctors. Because that's Dennis Haysbert and the other guy, and they're even credited as Doctor Number 1 and Doctor Number 2.
Okay, so there are doctors. Okay. Yeah. So, and so naturally it's like, oh shit, now more shit goes down when it comes to it. And so obviously another thing that they emphasize when it comes to the Unity is if you punch a tentacle, everybody feels it.
Yes.
You know?
So because it's the Unity. They are one.
Yeah, it's literally in the name. So, and the fact that, if she's punches one of it, she's going to hurt Martha. So then she's kind of resistant to be like, sorry, no, can't do that. And then, of course, that causes her to get kind of just like wrapped up and, into the. But then Superman shows back up and he's like, well, let me just rescue you out of this. Did you know? I mean, like, what was kind of interesting, too, is like, we didn't get like the red vision, the red heat vision. We got
because it's X-ray vision.
Yes, it got the X-ray vision, but they're also, at the same time, it's like, I think like if anybody's like watching this episode, kind of going like, well, wait a minute, like if they're like ripping tentacles apart, wouldn't they use? But it's like, no, they also can use, like, it's not just like that, because obviously even today when it comes to the new Superman trailer where we actually see the red, the red heat vision and stuff like that, it's like, yeah, but there is like another kind of way to do something like that, and in this episode it's not just, oh yeah, let's just use the red heat vision to that, what everybody knows. It's more of like, well, we can use this instead. I don't know. It's just something I was thinking about.
Well, here, let me help you with this. I think it's interesting because we always talk about X-ray vision.
Yes.
But we never think about the fact that, well, then that means he actually has to be shooting out X-ray radiation to do that. And then that's what this episode realizes, is that it's like, let's take a power of Superman's that everyone knows. Everyone knows about the X-ray vision. Because, he can't see through lead because lead blocks that wavelength of radiation. So I just love the idea of, no, he's actually, to do X-ray vision, you actually have to be shooting X-rays out of your eyes, which comic book science. But once again, you're talking about a guy who's powered by the sun. So all he's doing is converting the solar radiation in his body into a different form of radiation. I mean, it's one of those things that if you want to be a science nerd about this and try to make Superman's powers make sense, it's one of those cool things that it's like, okay, he's just taking one radiation and his body can convert it into another. And so, I mean, it's kind of like when you go to the doctors, or the dentist, what do they always make you do before they take an X-ray? They make you put on the little lead vest because they don't want the radiation actually, zapping you. And so I was actually thinking about that. It's like, wow, Kara and Clark are like throwing radiation all over the place.
They are. But that's what was interesting about it, because I think, and I was just kind of going like, okay, I get what they're, because obviously when you think of the X-ray vision, you just think of like, oh, Superman, or Clark like lifts down his glasses and then he could just, use it to form like a little hole to see what's going on through the wall or something like that. But it's never, but anytime there's like, when like something that's shooting out of his eyes, it's being utilized as a kind of like almost like a weapon, it's usually the
heat ray vision.
Heat ray vision. But they kind of were like, no, we're going to utilize this like this. And I thought just like that was pretty, I just thought it was kind of cool.
Well, I think also it's kind of cool because heat ray vision is heat, so it's gonna like burn through everything. The X-ray vision theoretically is only attacking and hurting the parasite itself.
Yeah.
Like, you shoot heat ray vision on a normal person, you could,
just totally just gone.
The X-ray vision, the way they concentrate it, is only going to damage the parasite itself, because we've established in this episode that for one reason or another, its weakness is X-ray radiation. So I think it's a really cool trick to come up with when you spend the last act of the episode attacking Smallville.
Yeah.
You know, and you're fighting the residents of Smallville, granted, infected, mind-controlled residents, but how do you attack them without fear of causing actual harm to the hosts?
Yes.
And so, to your point, I think that's why Rich and Paul came up with this idea of let's weaponize the X-ray vision versus just, you know, shoot lasers at everybody.
Yeah. Let's not start fires and all the fucking, you know, and burn the whole goddamn place down. No, yeah, I just thought that was cool. It's like it's used as almost like, hey, this is like a cutting tool. Let's cut these tentacles off. Just slice them without, hey, if I slice it and then it hits the wood floor, oh shit.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's I just thought that was really cool that they were like, I was like, oh wow, yeah, that makes sense. Like, let's use this type as opposed to, you know, setting a whole fury, or we're gonna need fucking you need the fire department to be showing up and everything. So, but so we have that, and then of course we get a shot of like basically everybody back in Smallville. We got Amos that's just kind of going like, hey, let's spread the word, get in your trucks. We got gas canisters for some reason, and we're going to be doing some shit. Get out there.
Well, think about it. What are they doing? They're loading up in their cars and they're driving. Well, they're going to need gas because the idea is going to be they want to be able to, if they want to spread the unity, they need to be able to, you know, go wherever, which also might mean going places where there isn't a, you know,
gas station. Yeah.
Gas station. As someone who watched the last season of 1923, that's a plot point. I'm just gonna say, you know,
makes sense. But yeah, so then of course Kara is just like, well, Supergirl, just, you know, or else Superman. Let's just, you know, knock over a silo onto the main road and block everybody, and then it's like, hey, get everybody in there. But pretty much this is where we're going to be joining in. Where
because then it just becomes, you know, fly, punchy.
It gets to be pure madness of what we love here. So yeah, there's like a nice little
I love that image. That's a great image. That's a great
that right there. Just so beautiful, right? Yeah.
It's also cool that when you zap the tentacles or the X-ray vision, how it just the parasite basically melts.
Yeah, and then we see the full. Jesus, we see the full freaking Mr. Amos right here. What he really looks like. This is just pure madness.
You are nothing.
I mean, it's Cthulhu. That's all this is Cthulhu.
Yeah. Rip down the tent. There you go. Tap him.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Yeah.
Superman.
You got it. You got it, Supergirl. Come on.
Yeah.
Not enough.
Not enough. You know, I don't get. I mean, this is so sci-fi.
Yeah, like, it totally is so sci-fi.
I love this.
Yeah. Got the sharp little freaking. And then there you go. Oh, Superman's gonna get it. He's gonna get it. He's gonna get infected.
God, this is.
Got two of them.
No, you don't.
Yeah, good pick.
Yeah, I love cars. I did. Let's just flame some gasoline.
Yep. Look at that.
And it explodes. Fire!
Come on, get out of it, Superman. There you go.
Oh, jeez.
Now time to start punching.
Not only does he punch, dude.
Oh, yeah. Rip
him in half.
Hell yeah. Nope. Get off me.
I mean, And then look at this. He rips the thing in half, and even the two halves are like separately like attacking.
Just does not stop. That's right through it, baby.
This episode is so gross.
Keep zapping it. There you go. Now everybody's free. They're free. That's what you get, that cliche ending of everybody waking up. Huh?
Kara?
Shh. Not so loud, Pa. Let's go.
Then Superman just looking down on all the goop.
Goop.
And we were actually part of some alien conspiracy?
Yeah, Pa. And you're crankier than usual.
Ha 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 ha.
But I can't tell you how great it is to have everything
See,
back to normal.
and then it all comes full circle where she
I
was
thought you
hated
found
the normal,
boring.
and now she loves
At
the
this
normal.
point, boring's not so bad.
And look, she's
I
even
didn't
go to
even
the
know her
comic
at
book
the
store
comic
with the awkward nerdy guy.
Yep, she's giving him a chance. Why not? In those little short shorts. And
We like
that guy doesn't stand a chance.
No, he doesn't. No.
Good Lord, he's just gonna see her show up and be like, ha. Anyways, I'm just saying. But yeah, not a bad episode. It's just very, very sci-fi-y.
And not just sci-fi horror. Like,
yes, horror.
Like we talked about X-Files, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, John Carpenter, Evil Dead. Like, this is all like, this is the vein of this episode.
Yeah. And, like I said, it doesn't have, it's just one of those where it just feels like they went, hey, what if we did something like this as just an episode? And we haven't visited with Supergirl in a bit. So let's bring her in. And, for the most part, I enjoyed this episode. I did. It's so random, but I
it is random, but you know what? Random is not bad.
Not bad.
I think it's also the first time we've seen Kara since Girls' Night Out, which is cool because she even makes a call. There's like, Barbara would be so jealous.
She makes a little note from that. I like it. Well, what do we got next week?
We're back in Neo Gotham because we're going to have a touch of Curari.
Touch of Curari?
Yes.
That's going to be interesting.
You don't remember, do you?
I don't. Of course not. When do I ever remember an episode?
It's so easy where you'd be like, I say this as if it means anything to me, and I'm like, oh god,
yeah. I'm like, yeah, but of course, if I look at like maybe even the thumbnail,
because we do get introduced to a new Beyond villain, so
yeah, I'm sure I'm gonna hate myself next.
Oh yeah, of course, you always hate yourself. You're such a self-loathing person.
I know, that's what happens. This is what this stream brings to me. I'm like, fuck, whether it's voice actors or the names of episodes where I don't recognize it, at first, and then all of a sudden when I watch it, I go, shit. That's usually what happens. I go, shit. Yeah, of course. Yeah, yes, I remember. Yeah. So, but at the moment, no, of course not.
You won't even have to watch the episode. You should only have to look at the thumbnail.
That's what I'm sure. Anyways, so yeah, we're back Batman Beyond next week. And like I said, we're gonna have a little bit of a run, right? When it comes to
not immediately.
Not as much. Okay,
but then like we're gonna get to the next Superman episode pretty quick, but then after that, it's going to seem ridiculous how long we have to wait just to get to the series finale.
That's so funny. But we appreciate you guys, of course, spending some time with us and seeing some of the people from Film Junkie Live showing up here and trying to watch these episodes with us. It's cool to see you guys and trying to catch up. Like I said, we're watching all. So you got time. And we're doing it a week at a time. So you got plenty of time to try to catch up.
We've been doing this for 4 years and we're just in our third show. I mean,
exactly. So like I said, you got plenty of time to catch up with us. But go ahead and plug away, Scott, with whatever you got.
I actually got a lot of plug this week.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have things to plug. Of course, you can follow me on X at ScottDC27, on Vero at Scott McClellan, or on Letterboxd as either Scott McClellan or ScottDC27. That's what I love with the Letterboxd one. As I mentioned earlier in the show, and I previewed it last week at I can't remember if I did it on DC Fan-imated. I definitely did it on Vodka Stream, but I just recorded a ballerina review over at the 602 Club with Matt. So please make sure that you subscribe to the 602 Club. And knowing Matt, it will probably be by the weekend. You'll be able to listen to our review of Ballerina from the world of John Wick. I will be watching tomorrow, as long as I somehow drink enough Monsters and I'm awake after what I've... Dave Heard knew what my schedule was like this week, and he was like, damn. And I'm going to try to see a movie tomorrow. So check out my socials and my Letterboxd, because it's finally opening in Birmingham tomorrow. I'm going to go see Mike Flanagan's new movie, The Life of Chuck, with Tom Hiddleston, based on the novella by Stephen King. So I'm looking forward to that. Also, for those of you who are interested, I finally finished this morning at work. I was listening to the audiobook to wrap it up. The Keanu Reeves Berserker novel, like the full-blown novel that came out. I finally got around to finishing it from like almost a year ago. And I'm going to be writing a Goodreads review, because I got Goodreads for my books. I got Letterboxd for my movies. So if you're interested in my book reviews, check me out on Goodreads. My movie reviews, go on Letterboxd. And so follow me on X, follow me on Vero, follow me on Letterboxd. Subscribe to the 602 Club to be able to listen to my ballerina discussion with Matt. Check out tomorrow my review of The Life of Chuck and my forthcoming review of Keanu Reeves' Berserker novel. And also, for anyone who has been following me for any time in the last 10 years at my network, Squadcast Media, I did post a video announcement regarding the future of the network. So please, if you have not already, check out. It's about a 6.5 minute video. I kind of break it all down. Change is coming, and just want everyone to be prepared. So that's what I got.
There you go. And please check all that out, guys, and hit that like, thumbs up. Like I said, I'm hoping to go to the movies tomorrow, but I got some car issues that are happening. So,
boo!
Yeah, you gotta love that. So,
what do you want to go see, though? I'm curious.
Well, I do want to see Life of Chuck. That's
okay.
That's my preferable. Like, that's the one How to Train Your Dragon. It sucks because the movie theater that I go to by myself, that's like 20 minutes there, doesn't have the Life of Chuck. So I'd have to go to the other one. And, so then of course, so I mean, it's not that bad. It's, whatever. But like I said, got to handle the car stuff first, which is a pain in the ass. I'm like, God damn it, of course. So my streak might be broken if I don't get it resolved early on. Other than that, we'll see what happens when it comes to my first reaction tomorrow, or maybe I'll just stay home for the first time in a while when it comes to a Thursday. But other than that, either we also have the Vodka stream, which of course will recap everything that's happened this week when it comes to, of course, Superman and Superman, I guess you could say. And,
Superman.
Superman has just basically been Superman this whole week. And so hit that like, thumbs up, guys, subscribe, do everything, and we'll see you guys here next week. And guys, we love you, and we will talk to you later.